Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. My name is Marva B, and I'm so excited to be here. I am the CEO and founder of Black Link Magazine, and we are so honored and humbled to have Mr. Bill Duke here with us for the interview tonight. It's such a pleasure. Mr. Duke, welcome to Black Link Magazine.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate your time. So we'll just get right into the interview. There's so much to talk about. So we'll just get started. If you would please go ahead and formally introduce yourself to the world in case they don't know.
Okay, my name is Bill Duke, and I'm a film director, writer, and actor. And I've been in the business for over 40 years. I have my autobiography you can buy, Bill Duke, on screen and behind the camera, in 40 years. And I have two new books coming out. One, a poetry book, The Invisible Man, and The Journey, which is about the journey we take in life, and I'm starting a new network called Younite.
Yes.
Bringing people together. So thank God, and just glad to still be here on this earth every day.
Yes, such a blessing to wake up every day. So I feel like you just glad to be here. Let's get into it. We'll talk about all of that. It's so many movies to talk about. I just remember the first time knowing you and starting to follow you. I was young, and it was in Car Wash. And that was my favorite show. And I watched it a million times. And that's where I was introduced to Bill Duke. So let's talk about your journey in the business, just, back, a little ways, and how you started in the film business, in the industry.
Well, I started out in New York. I mean, I was a stage actor and writer and director, and then came to LA and was fortunate enough to get my first really feature film, which was Car Wash, with the great Michael Schultz, who's still directing, and Ivan Dixon, who's no longer with us, but he's working with Richard Pryor and the Pointer Sisters and George Carlin. And, it was really a pleasure. Humble people, talented people, and we became a family, so it was great.
Yes, it was amazing. And I was just like, that was the show of the times then. So it was really good. And I just, Richard Pryor is legendary, just like yourself. And I was just, it was really a good time. From Car Wash, where did you go from there? Because a lot of people struggle, especially people of color, Black men, Black women struggle in the business, maybe more so then than now. I don't know if it's gotten better, but how was it that you got the next gig from there?
Well, I think people like Car Wash, and then I think the next one was American Gigolo, Richard Gere. And he was a great actor, great people, and it was fun. And it was like, I've been very fortunate to work on projects that I like.
Yeah.
And work with people that I like also, which is, that's a good thing.
That matters.
It doesn't happen all the time,
Yeah, that's right. I talk to other, actors, actresses, and there's, they say they have that experience, but a lot of experience, you wouldn't believe that they did have really good times and work with really good people. And then it can flip on them, here and there as well. So it's always good when you can say, the people were good, the experience was good. So
some people, how can I say, have big egos, and the EGO stands for is edging God out.
Ooh, I like that. Yes. And that's how some people act, as though, wow, I might have to use that on some people. Are you ego?
That's right.
Yeah. So you worked in movies such as Black Lightning, The Oval. I had to write them down. Mandy, High Flying Bird, The Predator. Oh, just on and on and on. A lot of people come into the industry, people of color, just people, period, and they come in the industry and their tenure that it doesn't really last that long. And they come in there, make this one hit, and they're gone, and you don't hear from them again. Not that their talent wasn't there, but for some other reason. What was your strategy, or how did you manage to make it in the business for over 40 years? And on top of that, as a Black man, as a man of color.
Well, they call it show business. It should be called business show
Mm,
because it's more of a business than it is a show.
yes,
And so it has this roller coaster ride. And when you're here, you don't think, but when you go down, everybody goes to the roller coaster.
yes,
No matter how famous you are, the biggest stars can tell you they've had their moments. And so in those moments, you have to not only survive, but you have to leverage things to the next moment. So you got to study the craft of what you're doing, but the craft of survival in this business.
yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to do that. They think, once they have a certain, I don't know, success, it's going to last forever. It doesn't work like that.
It does not work like that. I talk to people in the music industry as well, and there's like, I might have that somebody may come in and have this one hit, and it lasts for about a year, hit the charts and everything, and then they're just gone because they didn't keep working and putting the work behind it, understanding what they needed to do next to get to that next level.
Well, I said this in a couple of interviews. A pastor friend of mine told me this story in relation to what you were saying. He said one Sunday in his church, he told his congregation, everybody who wants to go to heaven, stand up and say hallelujah. Everybody got up. 5 minutes. He said, oh, calm down, calm down, calm down. Everybody who wants to die, stand up and say hallelujah. Nobody stood up. So I got a third question. How are you going to get to heaven if you don't die?
Ooh, absolutely.
Everybody wants to go to heaven. But to do the work, somehow automatically you're just going to go to heaven. No, you got to die.
That's right. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah. Wow. You're so much brilliance. Yeah. I like that. I want to talk about before we get into the Unite and everything else, because we want to talk about all of that, and I want to make this time useful. I want to talk about No Sudden Move. Let's talk about that show and how that became, and the plot behind it, or what about that movie and how you landed the role, and your experience.
It was the third time working. It was the third time working with Steven Soderbergh, and I love the script because the script takes you in places. You think it's to go this direction, it goes someplace else. You got to follow it.
Yeah.
It's based on a true story. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but in Detroit, based on a true story between the car industries that were fighting over this equipment that would take them, skyrocket them, and what they did behind the scenes to each other. They went into mobs, and I'm the head of one of the mobs.
Ooh, interesting.
OG. So it's about a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've been to Detroit recently, but Detroit is really coming back. I'm talking about they're renovating everything, new buildings and old buildings. It's really becoming a more beautiful city.
Wow, that's interesting. When you hear Detroit or Chicago, it's like, you worry like, ugh. But I did get a chance to go to Chicago, and where I was very beautiful. I mean, it was actually beautiful. Yes. So I can imagine Detroit, and I'm glad to hear that it is, bouncing back. Just to mention, No Sudden Move is on HBO Max for anyone that's listening. The Younite Network. I love what that stands for. I read about it and how it's to inspire and to encourage and to elevate. Let's talk about how you created it, where your mind thought was. It's kind of obvious, but let's talk about where you were in that time when you created that.
Well, it's hard to listen to the news because it's all negative. Most of it's 70% is negative. All the bad things that are happening around the world and the country and so on, and it divides us politically. It divides us spiritually. Divides us as people. And I was concerned. My question was, what are we leaving our children? Don't we have a responsibility to leave them something better than what we inherited? And so I was thinking about, why don't we leave them hope? And the way you leave them hope is to report all of the good things that are happening around the world. There are people that are doing incredible good things around this country and around the world. They never get credit. I watch every year, Anderson Cooper has a show on CNN called CNN Heroes. You ever seen it?
Yes, sir, I have.
It's one of my favorite shows on TV because it shows a lot of people doing wonderful, wonderful, positive things.
Yeah.
So my network is devoted to that. I have the support of friends like Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer and some really good people who believe in what I'm doing, and they're part of it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to launch the full thing in November, and we're just launching a piece at a time right now. So it's about good news that's happening around the world.
I love that because I don't care what time of day you turn on the TV, the news, it's always negative, negative, negative. And although when we're raising our children, they know about the negative people. You're going to hear about that. But I love stuff like Unite, the Unite Network, and I also serve my community and try to hone in on the children and make sure we're teaching them the good stuff too, and especially the younger ages because you want to start them young.
Yes.
And so I really was intrigued by that. You also have a nonprofit, I believe, right?
Duke Media Foundation.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Well, people can go to dukemediafoundation.org, and we teach young people, high school students, basically two things that are interested in our industry. Media literacy, which is how is our industry changing from film and television to media? I mean, when I came along, there was no social media. I had one of the first cell phones. You know how big it was?
Yep.
You remember that? You had to carry it with a box. It's no longer, okay?
Right.
So the thing is how do you leverage social media to your advantage today? Because you don't have to wait to be discovered. You can discover yourself. So, I mean, I shot a film with Steven Soderbergh a couple of years ago called High Flying Bird. He shot the entire film with 5 iPhone 7 Plus.
You're kidding me.
When they did the dolly shots, they rolled him around in a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh, interesting.
And it's go on Netflix and look under High Flying Bird. You cannot tell it's not great cameras they shot.
Okay.
So if he can do a feature film like that, guess what the average you can do, I can do. You got 2 cell phones, you can make a movie.
Gosh, that's so interesting. And you know what, Mr. Duke, it's about the not knowing. If you don't know, then you don't know.
You don't know, you don't know.
That's right. But when you know that you do better, and then you find yourself, because for me, like when I do my videos, I'm always saying, what do I need to go out and buy? Is it more equipment? They were like, use what you have, experiment with what you have. Right. And so far it's worked for me. I haven't had to go spend a lot of money, to do an interview or to do a video, whatever. So it's when you don't know, but when you know, then you can do better and be better. Right. And so I like that. Let's talk about your books. You're an author. You are an author, and it's the work of the invisible man and the journey. And the journey is the coming of the age story. Let's talk about the journey. Let's talk about the journey first. Let's talk about it. Where did it? What is it about? We don't want to give the whole story away, but where was your mind frame and what were you thinking writing that?
It's about my life experience and the life experience I see in friends and family. We're all taught that in order to be of significance, you have to be somebody famous or somebody power or somebody. So nobody who's a young boy goes to his parents one day and says, I want to be somebody. And they tell him, what, you already are somebody. No, but I want to be somebody. They said, son, you are somebody. you're God's child. You look in the mirror. You're da, 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 da. I know what you're saying, but I want. So he goes on a journey, ignores his parents,
Mm.
and we see how he comes back full circle after going through what we all go through and trying to be somebody, and not realizing that the somebody that you have to love is the somebody you see in the mirror.
Wow. It starts with yourself.
Yeah, well, if you don't love yourself, how can you be loved? Or, I mean, so that's the core of that. And my poetry book is Works of the Invisible Man deals with, I started out as a writer. I grew up I was born in 1943, grew up during segregation,
Mm.
was not considered an attractive young man,
Mm.
and didn't have any friends. So I wrote a journal to write my journal, my ideas, my feelings.
Right.
And so I started as a writer that way. I started out with just feelings, then with the poetry, then it went to scripts. And so this is how it all started.
I love it. I love it. When I was growing up, I would do poetry and I would write and I would write and I write. But my parents all they knew was you get your education. Get your education. Okay, I love your writing that stuff. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But get your education. So it went nowhere, right? So that's the part of the not knowing. So, but because I know, then I open that up for my kids, and say, listen, there is a mounds of things that you can do. If you want to do it, you put your mind to it. Don't just stay. I mean, we do need our education, is very important. But what else do you want to do? What else are you good at?
With the passion too.
Yeah, what's your passion? What are you passionate about? Find those things. And so I teach them, not that my parents wouldn't support it, they just didn't know about that. They figured you get your education, you're gonna be all right. So
That's right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I want to ask you before we get out of here, what would you leave with someone that is wanting to get into the business of film? Because it's so difficult. Everybody in the world wants to be an actor. They want to be an entertainer, and it's very hard. What is the one thing that you would leave with someone that's trying to bust into this business and be successful?
Learn the craft.
Mm.
It's not just about getting on camera and saying stuff. There's a craft to acting. There's a craft to direct. There's a craft to writing. There's a craft to producing. And if you want to be great at what you do, study the craft. As I told you the story about my friend who's a minister at the church, right? And this is relevant to what it takes to have a craft, study, and really take seriously what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I told you that?
Yes, yes.
So the thing is, it's the same thing. It's like, how bad do you, I mean, it's not just doing it, but how well do you want to do it?
Mm. Yes.
Do you want it to be good or excellent? It's like my foundation, the second thing we teach in my foundation is financial literacy.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
Well, there are people who make $100 million and go broke.
I believe it because they don't know what to do.
See, what we teach is not just how to spend a dollar, how do you use a dollar?
That's a different swing.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Spending of a dollar and the use of a dollar. So if I knew that when I was young, I wouldn't have made the mistakes I've made.
Yeah. Well, at least you learn from them and willing to teach.
Yes, give back.
Keep them from going through that, right? So I tip my hat to you for that. The kids are our future, and our kids in particular need a little boost, and need the education that you're sharing with them and how to maneuver, because you hear it all the time. People have surmounts of money and then are broke, or they're in the business and then they're leaving. I thought you made all this money and now you don't have anything. They know how to manage their money. Wasn't taught, how to manage the money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Totally right.
Mr. Duke, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you
I
coming.
appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Yes, this was amazing. And I can't wait to get it out for people to hear the brilliance and all the gems that you dropped tonight. And we will be following you. We support you to the core since Car Wash. We have been supporting you
Thank you.
here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. We support you. So again, thank you. You guys, we're going to get out of here for now. Mr. Duke, can you tell us how can people follow you on social media?
RealDuke.com, Real Duke Instagram. You know, it's Facebook. You know, different things that people are posting for me, etc. And um, the Younite Network is going to be the real way of following because I'm going to be contributing to that.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Let's make sure, you guys, that we are going to unite and we're following and we're doing what we can to support that initiative because it's very important for our children. So with that said, I think that we're done here. I appreciate you again for being here. You guys remember to respect yourself and respect each other. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.